I wanted to bring him on to talk to us about windows and the importance of windows. And when we're looking at, especially resale houses, what are we looking for regarding windows? And when we do have a resale house, or as we buy a new property and years down the road, when do we need to replace those windows? So let's start with the first one.
So the first one, a lot of it has to do with kind of the construction year. So if you're looking at a home that was built probably, I'd say, 1982 or earlier, there's definitely a good potential you're only going to have single pane glass windows with actually no E4 coating or any type of additional solar protection.
So
also,
82?
What's that?
82 would be single pane?
82 and earlier,
okay.
There's a very good possibility you'll have single pane. Most homes built in the Valley 1972 and before, unless they've had window replacement, are definitely going to have probably an aluminum frame single pane glass window.
Okay, yeah. So I know in our home in 1984, it did have dual pane, but it's nothing like what's available now.
So
low E and all that didn't exist.
Right, so the evolution of windows in homes has kind of gone from a single pane of glass with no particular treatment or coating to assist in reflecting the solar heat that's created, as well as the UV and the infrared light. So the UV and the infrared is what's going to come in through your windows, and it's going to do damage to the material on your furniture. It's going to fade rugs, it can fade carpet. So moving forward, the dual pane became the industry standard. It was 2 panes of glass. They use an argon glass in between those 2 panes. So basically argon kind of helps prevent that solar heat from radiating from the outside pane to the inside pane, because the molecules of argon actually heat up less rapid than oxygen. So that was like the first step in energy efficiency in windows. Now the new industry standard is what's called a low E coating, which is basically a liquid made with microfine metal particles that is applied to the glass, usually the inside of the exterior pane of glass. And that kind of helps bounce that solar heat that's created from outside.
Yeah.
It helps, keep the UV, it helps keep the infrared rays and everything from coming in and doing damage to the interior of your home.
So that's what's called a low E window.
That's correct.
So when you're buying new home construction, they always point that out, and they say touch the sliding glass window. You can feel there's no heat coming through. So that's a low E window. But there's different levels of low E, right?
There is.
So there's better ones than others?
Depending on the company and the manufacturer, there's usually 1 or 2 different levels of low E available. Most manufacturers also offer a low E with a slight tint to it for people that maybe want that tinted appearance or just a little less natural light coming into the home. So
would you say, as a new home buyer, in say my exposure on the south side of my house was my master bedroom, would you suggest somebody upgrading that window to a higher grade low E for that exposure of the home?
Anytime a particular side of your home is taking on a large amount of direct sunlight during the day,
yeah,
the more efficiency you can get there, the better. I mean, if you really look at your home, what most people don't realize is that about 30 to 40% of the actual walls of your home are either windows or doors.
Yeah.
So
What'd you say, 30?
About 30% of most homes is about windows or doors. And you walk into some homes in the Valley and they've got huge sliding glass doors and very large bay windows.
Love those.
It's great. It looks amazing.
Those walls that fold out and
exactly.
that are all glass. Those are beautiful.
What you get is an amazing view, of whatever's going on outside, your backyard, your pool area, whatever. But at the same time, you're also creating a large amount of wall space that may have less efficiency, because obviously your door and your glass and your windows is not going to be as good at insulating as that wall is designed to do.
Keeps out. So I asked a question earlier from Facebook about, do you think it's 25%? Is it less or more than 25% of your energy that gets out through doors and windows?
It's usually about 20% of your total heat and cooling loss goes through your windows and doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it can be more if you have single pane windows.
It can be.
Sure.
It can be a lot more. Yeah.
Significantly.
So the national average is about 54% of your utility bills goes toward heating and cooling your home. So if you can reduce the amount of time that your actual heater is running, your AC unit's running, reduce that power consumption by increasing the efficiency of the doors and windows, over time you're actually starting to kind of recoup on that investment just through those savings alone.
For sure. I think a lot of times, especially in our market, people are talking, I did a video the other day regarding solar. There's a lot of talk about solar, but if your windows and doors aren't energy efficient, if they're older than 1982,
Right.
or you have even some of the older construction that's not the good low E that's available now, you could still, there's still more efficient ways to go about saving energy, saving money, right?
Absolutely. You're also reducing the wear and tear on your AC unit because it's
Absolutely.
going to run significantly less than if you have an inefficient home.
So on an average 1,500 square foot single story home, I know it's hard to say because it depends on how many windows and doors it has, but I mean, what is the investment into putting in new windows to save in the long run?
I mean, it really depends. It depends on the size of the windows and the
That's
number
true.
of windows,
Yeah.
you know, and that varies regardless of the size of the home. Some homes are very heavy on glass. It all depends on the designer and the builder at the time and what they were really going for aesthetically.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of homeowners that have, you know, generally 10 to 12 windows throughout the home, all reasonably, you know, medium sized, nothing exorbitant, no really super big bay windows or anything like that. Your cost for a complete window replacement can run anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000, depending on the options you select and
Sure.
which direction you want to go.
Yeah. Okay, so when you're buying a resale home, what are you looking for?
The first thing you want to look for is what type of windows are in the home. Not just single pane or dual pane glass, but also the frames. So are they vinyl windows or are they aluminum windows?
How do people know how do you know?
One's metal and one's plastic.
Okay, so you're talking about the frame.
Yeah.
So you
Absolutely,
have a look,
yeah.
like you can definitely tell something that's plastic.
Yes.
And something that's metal.
Aluminum frame windows, of course, are metal, and they're always going to have a much thinner, streamlined appearance. That's just indigenous of the aluminum window industry, because aluminum is a rigid material. It allows them to make the framing and everything smaller. The problem is that over time, your weather stripping, your seals, your rollers, things like that still incur a certain amount of wear and tear.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I've run into is people that have really owned their homes a relatively short period of time. Once they're in the home, they realize that they didn't do as diligent a job as inspecting the doors and windows and run into issues with, hey, this one doesn't even have a lock on it, or this one doesn't close all the way, or maybe at one point a security company's come in and put sensors in there that are impeding with the operation of the door and window. So there's a lot of different things to look for.
On that dual pane, the seal gets broken. There's moisture in between the two,
Yeah,
right? What do you do for that? You got to replace the whole window?
Generally, yes. If you have a frame that's had a failure that's allowed those dual panes, there's a spacer in between, and there is like, you know, some type of adhesion process that holds those.
Yeah.
It makes it tight so it can hold the argon gas in between the panes. So if you get any type of, you know, issue with your frame, and it allows for a breach in those, not only can you get condensation, moisture buildup in between those panes, you've lost all that argon gas, which is going to greatly reduce the efficiency. Also, you're allowing for little spider mites and things to get in between the panes, and you can actually get like spider colonies and, you know, mold from
Yuck.
moisture buildup depending on where in the home it is, how much shade it gets. So that's definitely a possibility too. One thing to definitely look for is on aluminum frame windows, aluminum transfers heat. So on a really hot day, generally if you walk up and touch the inside of an aluminum frame window, it's going to be hot to the touch. So even though you have dual pane glass and it has an energy efficient coating on it, that frame is actually bringing heat, solar convection, into the home.
Is that cheap? Is that why they do that? That doesn't sound like it's very
So
efficient.
generally on track homes and new developments here, the builder is going to go with the lowest grade door and window that they can get away with, because it's really, at the end of the day, it's the bottom line.
Unless you
they have
upgrade
to
it.
put into
Unless
it, right?
I pay as a buyer.
Unless you pay significantly, you know, extra money in order to get an upgrade.
Yeah.
If you are, you know, and a lot of the times we all know, like people buy homes, the home may only be 2 years new, but you had nothing to do with the actual process of upgrades and choosing what was in there.
Sure.
So you really got to be aware of what doors and windows went into the home.
Okay.
You know, when it was constructed.
Be aware. Okay, so that's great. So look for, in existing homes, is there any has the windows at all been compromised as far as the seal, as far as the frame, locks, security installed systems? Have a look at those. Of course, people get home inspections, but you know, have a look yourself. It's up to you to do your due diligence in regards to that. What about? So I have an existing home. I've been living in it for 10 years. When do people need to consider or even call you and say, I need an evaluation? When is that you suggest people do that?
So generally what I run into is people make the call when they realize they have a problem.
Yeah.
By that point, the problem's been there, it's existing, it's just continuing to get worse. So a lot of the times it's wear and tear, sliding glass doors don't hold up as well, they get a heavy level of use. Your rollers start to jam up over time, the actual aluminum base, the track, over time will start to wear down. So, function, operation, the handles get loose, the lock mechanisms don't engage properly. A lot of the times on your front doors, just stand back and take a look at the door. If you can see any light coming in around the perimeter of that door, that's called a reveal. You definitely have something going on. It could just be a weather stripping issue. It could be settling. It could be warping. There's a lot of possibilities.
Especially if it's on high exposure side of the house to the sun and the wind and the rain.
Yeah. Generally, anything that takes direct sunlight in the Las Vegas Valley and the Henderson area, it's going to wear. It's going to fade over time. Even with vinyl windows, when vinyl takes on a lot of direct sunlight over time, the UV breaks the vinyl down. So you get discoloration, yellowing, and on a vinyl window, your actual panes are held into that frame, generally with just a very thin plastic vinyl clip. Once that clip becomes brittle and rigid and discolored and it breaks, that's when you start to have failure issues, and you're going to notice maybe I feel a breeze coming in even though my window's closed completely. There's something going on with that window that's caused a failure, and it's no longer doing a good job at keeping out the elements.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And with weather stripping is easy to fix. You can go to Home Depot and get that. But do you obviously offer free consultation? If somebody calls you up, you come out and evaluate the home, what's effective, what's ineffective, or what's efficient in the home, right?
Absolutely.
You have a whole report you give people?
Yeah, so we go through and we basically have a step of going through, investigating, looking at it, making sure that the jams, everything's level, checking the functionality, just catching the things that most people maybe aren't aware of on a general basis. But once we go in and we basically give you a consultation and we point out the issues you're having with your windows, we can go through, show you design options, and kind of steer you in the direction of what it's going to take to fix the situation you're having at home.
I love it. Yeah. I love that. Well, guys, Eric Jackson, he's with Renewal and by Anderson, which is residential windows and doors. Yeah. I've known Eric a long time. I sold and bought a house or two for him and his family, and his daughter just turned 7.
Yep.
Oh my God, what in the world? She used to love my little necklaces, and I could bribe her with my little necklaces. No more, probably.
Yeah.
She's grown up now.
Now it takes money and candy.
Oh man, these girls. Does she have a cell phone?
What? Not yet.
Oh my gosh.
Not at 7.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what age that is, but money and candy. I'll have to write that down so next time I see her, I'll have some goodies on hand. He's background in construction, family's in construction, solid guy, good guy in the community. Give him a call. We're going to put his information in the comments, but just so that he'll come give you an evaluation. You have any questions? Or, like I say, if you have any questions and you're looking at property, just call him up and say, hey, I don't know if this is right or this is wrong. He'll let you know. Anything else that we didn't cover?
No. That's pretty much it. If you think you may have a problem with your doors and windows, you probably do.
Probably do.
And it's worth taking the time to at least have someone look at it.
Yeah.
And know what can be done.
Yeah. Awesome. You're awesome.
All right.
Thanks, friends.
Hey, no problem.
Talk soon.